I'm trying to just, try something different.
Good.
All right, let's go for it, guys. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Relebogile Mabotja Podcast, a whole other episode. Comment down below with who you'd like to see me interview on this show in particular. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when new episodes are out. I'm so excited about this conversation we're going to be having. And it's almost like a person that I think people have forgotten what she does and who she is and why she's been in the game as long as she has been. So I thought, Refilwe Modiselle, we got to sit down and talk. And I'm going to expose you. The last time I saw her, she didn't see me seeing her.
Yeah.
She was get down ajalo to the at the Safters after party. You are having such a good time. Are you usually that person?
Listen, the thing is, I think just after a good work well done, then you can release, But I've never been like a believer of being safe. I'm not that person, you know what I mean? You must always radiate and just be happy. So yes, Mujaivo is a family thing, but just generally, I'm a happy, free spirit.
And I think you really are, because when you came in, I was so frazzled, having
she was so frazzled.
Came from radio, having a rough day. My left ear is like blocked at the moment. And every time any one of us were asking, "Are you okay?" You're like, "I'm chilled." I was like, she is so the vibe.
Absolutely. I think you just have to be that person. There are different circumstances also. And I think also for me, I've been in similar environments, just even like behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. So I'm not really shook by anything. I've just learned that in any space that you go into, you just need to relax, embrace everything that is around you. I mean, and it's not to say that when you're zenned out, you're not aware of everything that happens around you. You just need to also be present within yourself before you do something. So I'm just like that.
Listen, we're all going to learn present within ourselves. I want to start by asking you about, being the face of albinism and how at the beginning it can feel like this is so great for my community, represent, but then it can reach a point where it gets annoying.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me why. And I will tell you how I made the same decision you did, but for a different reason.
Sure. So for the many people that do not know the history of not being aware, because now Serapila in the era where everything is digital.
Yes.
I'm known as Africa's first successful model with albinism. Yes. But I started at age 13 in the year. Hey, now I'm giving things away here. 1999. So I was 13 in the year 1999. We're going into the new millennium.
Which is same age as me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going into the new millennium, and there's just this idea of albinism not really being prevalent even in the industry. The only person you actually ever think about who's really just been famous with albinism has been what? Salif Keita.
Yes.
But when you check from a commercial fashion and beauty perspective, there never really has been, And as much as, yes, people like Sean Ross like to claim that they were the first, but when you track back and do the history, you'll date back. Americans like to take a lot of responsibility when it comes to things, but I started in 1999.
Yeah.
People like your Sean Rosses, your Deandra Forrests only started years later.
Yes.
You know
it's just that
I mean?
They didn't know about you.
100%.
So they think they were the first.
100%.
Yeah.
So I started, and you must remember that you're in Africa. Africa, a lot of the time is taken at the bottom barrel of presence and everything else that it has to have until it suits everyone else, right? The rest of the world. So it's great that South Africa is where it is now, and just Africa generally. So I think it started from a very young age. Obviously, the excitement of being in that space and not understanding it fully, because where was I going to get my guidance from? There's nobody else in that space. So I'm literally the pioneer of that space and really channeling my own destiny and getting to it like fully and so on. Yes, it's exciting. There's a part of it that's not so exciting because there's a superficial aspect of being a model, and you go through the challenges of everything that comes with. And I was a baby.
Yeah.
So my mom really did take me away from it, but lo and behold, she had no choice. when God calls you to something and you have no say, then He's really going to push you into it. And I think it was when I was doing my first year of tertiary that I went back into modeling again. So the excitement started all over again. So I took a break. So from 13, yes, I did. But then I was also warned, well, not me per se, but my mom was warned to say, you do realize that she's going to get so much attention with being in the industry and at this point. And my mom was just afraid. She was just like, nope. I don't want to really expose my child to all of that because it's a lot. It's like, no offense, it's like discovering Sarah Batman, you know, and like she becomes like a world phenomenon or whatever.
It's not like she's not aware, being a black woman, 100%. What our communities would say about the community that you are within. And now you are putting an even bigger microscope on your child 100%. For more people to 100%. Spread the misinformation, the fears,
scrutiny, the danger, the questions, just the attention and so forth. So she did pull me away from it. But I think, as I said, when God pulls you back into a destiny and a purpose that He set out from the beginning, He will rein you in whether you like it or not. And at age 18, I was then asked to do shoots. I was doing the first billboard for Vega, School of Advertising. I was doing all sorts of things. Oh, and I was discovered then also by David Tlali. He was the first fashion designer in the country to actually allow me to walk a runway. So it's things like that. So there was the excitement, there was the aspect to it, there was the many years of doing the work because there was nobody else that was like a Refilwe doing the work, even though there were painful aspects to it. But I think in my DNA and my strength and the type of person that I am, I refuse to be beaten by anything, and not because I'm in competition with anything, but because I have always been a soul that doesn't want to be dictated to by the rest of the world.
When you say there were some challenges, is it challenges in the sense that when you came into the modeling industry and then moved into the media space, there was no awareness of the kind of challenges you face living with albinism? So
100%.
For example, people got to be mindful. We can't do this 7-hour shoot in direct sunlight.
Absolutely.
So things like that, which now becomes an exercise on teaching on your part.
100%.
Which it's so interesting about exposure. I went to school with 2 girls who were living with albinism. One was white and one was black. And we always knew about the sun. We always knew about the eyesight. So for me growing up, I was not bombarded with the community talk of, you know, this and this.
You got to encounter it directly.
Yes, so for me it was, no, I know there's an eyesight issue and there's this issue, but
it was nothing for you.
Yes, it was
nothing for you.
But I take for granted that didn't everybody know?
No.
But I only knew because I was exposed early on. So talk to us about some of the challenges where you had to give that blatant, guys, I can't do this like this, please accommodate me.
So some of the challenges obviously is when you walk onto like a set, and especially a modeling set and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people remember the legit ad, right? Because I was the first, I was one of the first, that's when I was called South Africa's first successful model with albinism, from just being the legit ambassador. But getting on a set like that, there are things like, I mean, I've done crazy things which I'm not supposed to do, but because, like I said, I have that, I have that, I literally looked into, so the eyesight is not great, but there was water in there. There was water that was put into like a basin, and the glass had a thing where there was like a reflection there, and I literally had to open my eyes so that they could catch the light. So I've done crazy things like that. It's like, but also it's like lighting in studios and so forth. I mean, it should be an issue for me, but I don't really make it an issue, you know, I just get along with it. It's things like when I used to work in corporate, I'd sit in front of a computer 24/7, 365, but I'm literally here. I have to be like that. And people don't understand, why are you sitting so closely to things? So it's things like 100%. It's things like even when you are, let me just say, on the runway, whatever the case is, I'm cognizant of the fact that I need to see, but now I'm seeing with supersonic vision. I'm literally not actually seeing properly, but I'm using I wouldn't even say sixth sense, seventh sense, to literally do what I need to do. If I'm going into the runway, some of the other challenges were just the superficial aspect of just the modeling industry. You know, I was not tall enough. I'm more of like a Kate Moss of SA. I was not the aesthetic of being called what is definitive of a black woman. So the problem would be the briefs as well. So you find that, yes, they're saying a black woman, but it would be like...
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Where there's casting.
Yes, where there's casting.
Oh my God.
So it's like, is she really black? You know what I mean? So it would be like a point of contention, but they'd have to have a conversation around it, you know, to say, are we going to challenge it?
And I think it's important for everybody who's not clear on how it works in advertising. So let's give an example. Clothing brand says we've got a campaign.
Yeah.
And in this campaign, I mean, you won't notice it so much now, but there was a time where you are really doing your best to show, okay, let's have a bit of a thicker girl, and we need an Indian girl, and we needed this.
Yes, there were specifics.
So it would be mixed match.
There's specifics.
But you would never get a brief. I mean, I'm sure they are now, where they say we're looking for somebody living with albinism or somebody who...
I mean, they do, but back then it was more like, they're very rare. But also besides that, it was like, I wouldn't necessarily champion to, if a brief comes for them to say, a woman with albinism. I want to be the girl that is seen as a black woman.
Yes, I get
And those are just some of the challenges.
As in be considered as well.
100%. Yes. Don't move me away from the narrative of what a black woman is, because society wants to define it in how we're teaching children of what it is. Whereas there's an expanded
You just reminded
aspect.
me in the advert, the Metro FM ad, what makes you black? And they showed a person living with albinism.
Yeah.
Nail on the head.
So it's just like some of those challenges. It's the idea of you're always going to challenge the stereotypes that are there, because now you're breaking the mindset of what the fashion industry also wants to champion. If you think of the narrative of what standards are really set by the European standards. And it's like, actually, there are standards which are like African standards, but outside of the European context, you get a Refilwe.
Yes.
So how do we then not even fit that in? How do we make it a part of the system when it's never really been a part of the system in how we think? So there was a lot of like provocation in terms of, you know, just like all of that, and the fact that I never really fitted into a mold that was comfortable for everybody else. Even typically to people who felt like they had a say in so many things. I was not the girl to fit that mold. So the same thing as being in the industry. I've been in the industry for so long, but I've never championed myself to be an it girl, because Refilwe follows a niche that not necessarily is created by society, yes, to a certain perspective, but it's like one of those things that I understand who I am and what I'm doing, and the bigger part of it is being a teacher in all of those disciplines. So some of those challenges have just been just the idea of always challenging what the black narrative is, not just from an African perspective, but even from an international perspective, where people feel like they want to dictate to the next person as to what it is, instead of expanding and opening up to a more clearer, you know, understanding to say, there's not one track to life.
I think to bring it back to how I was saying, I went through a similar thing. In a completely different way, but I remember us having a conversation. I was like, please come to my talk show, and you were like, listen, I'm done talking about albinism.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about that earlier.
Can people actually call me for anything but that? So when it happened to me, I went through a period, I remember during Nolene's era, and they had this episode around like curvy women, and I went, and I can't remember, it was a very long time ago. Then I went through a period where people were like, please can you come, the topic is blah, 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 curvy woman. I was like, hold up. I am not trying to be body positive activist before all the other things that I am.
100%.
And the moment I had to actively stop engaging those conversations is because I am so much more than just that. So
100%.
When we spoke, I was like, I totally get it. Because at some point you're like, have I not paid my dues enough
100%.
to not just be the one to get called because I'm living with albinism?
100%.
Hence, when we spoke, I was like, I totally respect where Refilwe is coming from. And even with the SAFTAs, I was like, please call Refilwe. I hope she says yes. And I thought it was a little bit different about the SAFTAs. But because there's a certain awareness I wanted us to all take note of in the industry.
Yes.
So to circle back, are you sick and tired of every time people talk to you, you have to now do the activism first before they get to who you are?
I wouldn't say sick and tired, but I think it's just one of those things where I've reserved where I place that activism. And yes, some people will say, but Refilwe, you were given the responsibility. Truly so, okay, because I'm born into it. But I think it's also not fair that when you have done things for so many years, that people refuse to grow in the idea of how they see you. You can't always be in the same place as a person. Why don't you allow the evolution as well? Why don't you allow yourselves as well to go through the evolution of that self and really enjoy it? Because even in that evolution, there are other aspects that you're going to pick up and enjoy and be like, yo, we didn't know that we could learn this and that also from this person outside of just learning all the stuff that we already hear 24/7, 365. And it's just also the idea of there is far more that Refilwe has. I'm such a gifted, damn gifted, beastly soul that has so much to offer the world.
People don't know, for those of you that don't know, Refilwe is an exceptional talk show host and presenter.
Absolutely.
But also, she got pipes on her. Why don't you tell people you sing, Refilwe? Hey. And what is holding you back from releasing the music?
So a lot of people don't know that the first person I sang with was KB Rocklefatsi.
Yes.
KB Modiselle. I was her backing vocalist at age 18. And this was purely because there's a friend that was just like, oh, you got such a voice, you know, can I take you to a studio and, you know, take you to a producer and please, like, just show yourself. And she just happened, I didn't know it was her house.
I didn't even know you were her backing vocalist.
Yeah, I was her backing vocalist. So I went to her house, but I didn't know it was her house.
Yeah.
I just came to the producer to just, you know, because she was friends with him, and she was just like, oh, you know, I've got a friend that can sing. And I was just like, shy. And then I started singing, but it just so happened that KB was in the place. I didn't know she was there, and she heard me in studio.
Wow.
And then I turned around, and then we were outside, we were like chilling outside, and she's like, hi. I'm like, oh my God, this is KB. And she says to me, how would you like to make some extra money while you're in school, you know, and be my backing vocalist? I went, oh my gosh, but it's also like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm not used to this because
and
it's
people
like...
don't know what KB was to us. At
100%.
that time, with backstage, she was
like
big
the
deal.
godmother.
She's still an icon to all of us.
Absolutely. So KB then asked me to jump on board, and it's the first time that I realized that I could sing. I didn't know, but I'm also very shy about a lot of things. As much as I'm very strong, but I'm very shy when it comes to a lot of things. It takes a lot of convincing within myself to really be like, okay, Refilwe, you've really, really, really like got this. And there were moments where she'd get frustrated with me where I would be in studio, but very shy about the vocal cords.
Yes.
And she'd get mad because she's
like, you're not giving it.
It's not even about the not giving it. It's like, for me, I didn't see what she could see. And she's like, do you know what you have? And I'm just like, you know, I'm just coasting, you know, and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it was just instilling that elderly, sisterly love to say, don't ever put yourself less in what you've been given. When you give it with the confidence that says that I'm here and I'm present. So shout out to her for, you know, giving me my wings as well, you know, in honing and also putting some sense of grounding in me, and some of the most valuable lessons that I still carry today. I mean, we performed on the stage with Busta Rhymes before people are, Pusha, I want to yeah, they've been going like this. Yes. I'm like, we literally came across Busta Rhymes and Eve. Like, I looked Eve in the face and Gabby was just like, hey, when, like, you know, just relax.
Where was this?
Sure, was it Ellis Park? I don't remember what year it was, but it was the concert that had Busta Rhymes and Eve performing on the same stage. I don't know what year that was. I don't remember. But I remember that, number one, I'm a huge Busta Rhymes fan, right? So I was losing my mind. And then there's Eve this side. So I'm going to the confusion of, there's Pastor Rhymes, there's Eve, yo, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she literally said to me, she said, my baby, you and these people are both doing the same thing.
La Tshwana.
You're doing the same thing. You're here to put bread on the table for your families. And that lesson never, ever, ever left me, because it made me realize the strength that a person has. Like within the industry, there's so many people that you can admire, and there's people make the mistake of really adorning people way too much. And it's like, these are also human beings that live their lives. And for the mere fact that you're in the same space with them, there is no hierarchy to greatness. You in your feeling small could be just as great. It's the ability for you to be able to recognize that you were given. So don't put somebody too high up on the pedestal. The only person or only divineness that you put on a pedestal is your God.
Yes, I'm with you on that one.
Otherwise, siyafana sonke. Yes, the perks are different. People are advantaged differently. But at the end of the day, our greatness is just in who we are and what we have to give to the world. Material also doesn't define your level of greatness. It's what you give the world. It's what you give of yourself and how much impact that has to the next person who probably will wake up and say, oh, I wanted to take my life today, but you saved me. I was that girl or that gay guy that really didn't see anything in myself. Thank you, Refilwe, for making me feel like I have a place in the world. Thank you for being so gentle. Thank you for being so kind. Thank you for reminding us of love. Thank you for reminding us to just be. And that for me is success. And obviously, there's the aspect of just breaking all the boundaries. Only because, excuse my French, I'm a firm believer of it up.
Yeah.
But it up is literally like the idea of never being dictated to, like I said. Somebody cannot tell you what your destiny is if God has decided where it is that you need to be. So I'm a firm believer in breaking those boundaries, and also because God gave me just that.
I think it's so great that you are sharing that, because we live in an era where it's not just success is attached to certain work achievements and financial and material gains, but self-worth is attached to those
100%.
things. And you have had this very fascinating career of, after people started to know who you are, there were all these amazing opportunities that came up. You've been in acting roles. You've been, also, I almost feel like the one who opened the doors for your sisters. Do you feel like that came with a certain burden of sorts, that while you were breaking glass ceilings for the community living with albinism, you also had sisters who are extremely talented, wanted to be in the business. Did you ever feel that pressure as the big sister?
I don't think I felt the pressure of a big sister per se. I think I felt the pressure of just accomplishing the things I wanted to accomplish. And purely because I think when Dad had passed away, I made a promise. I made a promise that I would carry his name. I made a promise that I will make you proud in the heavens. I made a promise that this legacy that I built, I'm going hard for, is also for Dad. Not only for my mom, but for Dad, because Dad is not around.
I'm so glad you mentioned Dad, because I knew it was something I've wanted to have a conversation with you about for a long time. After I had my conversation with Bonke on the upside of failure, and it still is out there, go and watch it if you haven't seen it. I think her and I didn't think we would get so deep into that part of losing Dad and what she carried with her, and she touched so many people with that experience. And I remember thinking to myself, one day I want to hear Refilwe's experience, because we know that sometimes we have conversations about things we experience together as adults, but the experience was completely different. So I'm going to give a high-level summary for those who don't know. Buntle shared the story of how basically in the middle of the night, she went to the toilet and saw Dad carrying things.
Yeah.
And she asked him what he's doing, and he said something along the lines of, I love you, go back to bed. Something along those lines. To the next day, waking up to seeing him hanging outside. But the big standalone part was not that part, but the fact that she had dreamt about him dying about the night before, and shared it with your parents. And she expressed how she's carried this guilt that maybe I shouldn't have said anything. And secondly, I saw him about to go do it, and I didn't do anything. And when you think about the fact that she was a baby,
she wouldn't have known. She was a baby.
When she told me, and I don't want to take away from you sharing your part of the story, but what she shared with me, like, I've never experienced anything like that, but just to imagine is already so much to bear. But I would love to know your experience. You were a little bit older than she was.
I was 11.
You were 11.
I was 11.
Yeah. So what was your experience from the day before? Did she tell you about her dream, or you didn't know anything about it?
I didn't know anything about the dream. I didn't know any signs. I didn't see anything, but I was the one to find the situation.
Talk me through what that day was like, because you're school going age. So you're in that thing of like, go to bed at night, there's a routine.
Yeah.
So what happened from going to bed the night before to you waking up in the morning and the whole thing?
Going to bed the night before was pretty normal. You know, I think we come from a very like happy family. Our parents are extremely loving. I think my idea of black love, many people want to go and talk about black love. I'm like, my parents were the epitome of the introduction of black love. And my also carrying that in my ethos of what I would want from a man.
Yes.
It comes from just seeing their relationship. So it was pretty much like normal happiness. There wasn't anything, no sinasaini. There was nothing, basically, that showed that there was an alarm bell ringing or that something is about to happen. And the morning we woke up, so Dad usually gets us ready for school. Like he would maybe go to the garage and just get the car ready, whatever the case is. And just normal. Kids, we wake up, we go bath, we get ready, you know, and stuff like that. And then comes a point of, no man, where's Dad? We're going to be late for school. Where's Dad? I mean, the house is big also. So it's like everybody's everywhere, you know, doing their own thing and just getting ready for school. Where's Dad? You know, there's nothing cognizant to say something is wrong. Then all of a sudden, she was like, and my mom is now getting confused. Also, she's like, oh, where's your father? Where's your father? And now we all start doing a search party.
In the house.
In the house. Okay? She's with Buntle and Dumelo.
And how old are they at the time?
Let's see. Sure. You're taking me back, yeah? I was 11. Buntle was 5. Dumi was, I think she was 2. Yo, guys, my math is not mathing right now. I think because I'm going back to that pain. But I was 11. Buntle, I was 11. Buntle was 6. Dumi was 2. That's right, because we're 4 years apart.
And to clarify, who you refer to Dumi is?
Guys, it's Candace.
Yes.
She is Dumelo. She is Dumelo. Her first name is Dumelo. Yes. It's not Candace.
Yes, just so everybody knows.
100%. So we do a search party, and Mom is in the house with Buntle and Dumelo. I go outside with Elsie. Now we start looking, right? First assumption, obviously, Dad is in the garage, right? He's getting the car ready for us to go to school. We don't think anything. All of a sudden, I just hear a scream. But I'm following Elsie to a certain degree, but it's not like a loud scream. She's just like, like, you know, the shock. I go running to Elsie. Mom is in the house. She doesn't know what's happening. Lo and behold, when we go through, there's a door that leads to the backyard, and there's a hole there, right? There's like a little peeping hole thing. She saw through that hole and she was shattered. I didn't know what was going on. I just went and I ran to her and I saw what was happening through that hole and I lost it. Now imagine an 11-year-old running to open that door along with Ausi. My mom not knowing what was happening because she was busy with the kids in the house. And I found Dad, in a very compromising position that I choose not to really talk about.
So let me help for everybody who's watching.
Yeah.
Dad was hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
And at the time, when you saw through, it's almost like you see what is happening, but you don't want to believe.
100%.
So it's not like you ran back to call Mama.
No.
You and Ausi are like, we need to get in.
Yeah.
When you ran to the tree with Ausi, being not even a teenager, you're preteen, what was the first thing you did?
I told her to get the scissors.
Wow. So at that age, you knew that, and in your mind was get the scissors.
Get the scissors. I need Dad off this tree.
In your mind, was he gone already or you were still trying to save his life?
Still trying to save him.
Yeah. So
in my mind, it's, I gotta do something.
Yes.
I gotta save him. I don't know if he's alive or not, but I need my dad off of this tree now.
Yes.
It was just like an instinctive reflex to just,
He needs to be taken down.
It's just, he needs to be taken down. I didn't think about, hey, you know, because people are like, oh, but you tampered with the crime scene, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you don't think of that. I think in an emergency, all you want to do is save. But seeing him like that, for me, was like, I want my dad. I see at the time, then I think, obviously in shock, but I'm left with him there.
So she ran into the house.
Yeah. And she had to go.
Going through.
Yeah, and my mom also, technically speaking, was also halfway
Coming
on the way,
out.
halfway coming, and Ausi had to stop her. So, and the ironic part of the story is that he was literally hanging on the tree, which is right next to my bedroom.
Really?
Yeah, so I didn't even see this.
As in like the whole time you were having your morning?
Time. The whole time. And it's not to say like it's right next door, but it's like the tree's there.
Yeah.
And here, and you don't think of, I mean...
Did Ausi, now running back into the house...
She tried to stop Mom.
From coming?
From coming, obviously.
But obviously Mom is not going to be stopped.
Absolutely. But, you know, even at that point, I'm telling them, call 10-111. I'm the 11-year-old telling them, call 10-111. Call the police. Ausi gets me the scissors. I cut Dad from the tree.
I'm so confused about this. And I'll tell you what's confusing me.
Is why would an adult permit a child to go through all of that?
No, because from the perspective of your mom, I can see why she wouldn't do it. Because it is quadruple devastation for herself and for her children.
Yeah.
I also know that children have certain adrenaline superpowers in emergency situations. And thank God, God has built little people that way. Not to say it's a trauma you should have been able to bear, but in that moment you had a bit more capacity than your mother did. I think the confusing part is, Ausiwa Bathu. You know, maybe she was in shock.
She was in shock.
Giving a child scissors to cut, like...
Absolutely. But it's also like, you know, she's not thinking. I mean, we're both doing it, but she's not thinking. You know what I mean? I'm giving the instruction. I'm giving the instruction. She's not thinking about it. For her, I'm like the kid that probably knows better what to do.
Yeah.
Because ke khalifile. So I don't think the reflex for her, like kicked in, and that, and I mean, in confusing moments like that, also you can't make sense of them. There's no idea of saying let's rationalize when a situation happens, because when
and you won't
situations
know
happen,
till
they
you are
happen.
in it. You don't know.
100%. And also another thing is, I don't think she knew what I was going to do with the scissors, because I asked her to bring me a scissors. But at the same time, she's trying to stop a situation there, because there's mom and my 2 younger sisters not having to see that. So what do you choose?
And when Bonke, I mean, that for me like was when she told me that you were the one who cut your dad down, at what point did help arrive? And did you know what CPR was, or?
I did try to do CPR. Because, I mean, I didn't know what CPR is, but you kids watch movies and you think you know what you're doing. And she goes, Dad, you know, like, wake up, wake up.
And by then he was gone.
He was already gone.
Sure.
He was already gone.
In that moment of the waiting, between help arriving,
I just sat there with his body.
Sure. You were such an exceptionally brave little girl to do that.
Yeah.
Because it is not the duty of an 11-year-old to feel like I need to protect my mom or my sisters.
Yeah.
I still cannot believe you went through all of that. Like, it makes me so teary.
Yeah.
Because as an adult, you look at an 11-year-old, you're like, that's a baby.
Yeah, what does she know?
When you heard Bonke saying that she felt it was her fault, how did that make you feel?
It broke my heart. It broke my heart, I think. And I only found out like years later that she'd always felt like that. She never articulated it to me. You know, I only found out, I mean, and also the thing is, I mean, we were taken to counseling, but there's a difference between back in the day counseling and actual therapy, you know. She never told me about it, but I think it was only years later that I found out, and I found out during the grapevine, not because she told me.
Wow.
You know, I'd find out maybe in an interview that that's how she felt. And it's like, you never said this, you know? But even when I heard it, I always reassure her and was like, baby, but that's crazy also. How would you take the responsibility of not knowing what would happen when it wasn't even something that you would have known could have happened? Nobody knew that it would have happened. Not even my mother would have known what it would have happened.
But even if she knew, she could not have done
There's nothing that she could do.
it.
So the same way, where I'm like, I can't place the guilt of that situation and say, I could have saved my dad. I can't. I can't have lived with that guilt. Because I know that I did what I could.
Do you know that now, as a 30-something-year-old adult, and does the 11-year-old Refilwe know that?
The 11-year-old Refilwe didn't live with a guilt. She didn't live with the guilt that was similar to Wunke. I think the 11-year-old Refilwe is probably just a little bit cuckoo, or I don't know, maybe God gives me divine strength that even I don't understand. Because you must remember that a lot of my experiences, even prior, I think just being in this world, have really built that strength. So maybe there was a sense of immunity already to a certain degree built in me to deal with situations. Even though, yes, you know, the journey entirely has never been easy. Just all around, just given life generally, has never been easy. But it's just, there are things that have been there that have built Refilwe to a certain degree, and I can't explain it. I can't, but I can't live, I never sat down to say I live with the guilt of not being able to save dad. Because I think with me, it's either I blocked it out completely, in all honesty, and just lived life, because I went into Super Saiyan mode. There's a part of me that went into even growing up quickly. And feeling like I need to be mom's right hand. I'm the big sister.
You were the deputy parent?
Yeah.
What conversations did you have with God when the reality sunk in that he was gone?
At what age is the question?
All of them. especially the way he passed on,
Yeah.
has another layer of grief to it when you realize that a person was suffering without you being aware.
Yeah, I think the conversations I have with God have only really been in the latter years of life, when you start to do the self-mastery. And self-mastery is like sitting with every part of your life and trying to make it make sense to you. And the conversation I had with God is, only knew why that happened. We have no answers. Only knew why, only you know why you placed me in that position. It's given me, in the crazy part of things, we could say, it's given me a crazy sense of strength and self, which I shouldn't have. But I appreciate. But it's also helped me become the Refilwe that was dedicated to making sure that my family's okay.
Yes.
So I sacrificed a lot of my younger years. I sacrificed a lot of my younger years to make sure that family always came first. That I would be my mom's anchor. That there would be bread on the table.
I am with you there completely.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, please don't apologize. Please don't apologize.
Yeah.
It is.
So as part of the driving factor to how Refilwe was because, sure, without having a conversation or being told, but I was forced to grow up quickly.
Yeah.
I was forced to take responsibility for a lot of things. And not because my mom put that responsibility, but like it's like that thing. Dad, you left me with this. So how do we make sure it's okay for mom? How do we make sure that Bundle and Dumi are okay and they never have to feel like they have anything less? How do I accomplish so much that the suffering feels a little bit less? How do I accomplish all these high, extra, crazy goals at such a young age to just make sure that there's a system that says it's something that has been built that can solidify a secure future?
And I think particularly in the family structure like yours, usually when there's a son in the household, they're like, you're the man of the house now.
Yeah.
And I have met your wonderful family and mom. And you guys are just so championing of one another. You allow one another to have your own moments.
Absolutely.
And you equally support each other. Like your mom gives such warm hugs. And I think about how close all of you are.
Yeah.
But I can completely understand why you would put that on yourself, because there's an inner voice telling you, because you saw what your mom's face looked like when she realized what was happening.
Yeah, I saw what she lost. I might have not understood it at age 11. That's why I'm saying maybe, I don't know, I'm built different.
Yeah.
Maybe Refilwe entirely is built different in a way that society might not be able to package or know, like, give a term or a descriptive thing that is in the science books that makes it help the next person make sense. But I can only, attribute it to divineness, is that I'm built in that manner to really understand life even differently, in a perspective that is very different to a lot of people as well. And I think it's just in various experiences, not just that, but in just my upbringing, the experiences generally of life, and just going through the ebbs of the ups and the downs. But, you know, using those experiences to really just navigate life differently.
What are the conversations you have at home? Because, I mean, I've had conversations with Candace. It's weird. I don't call her Tumelo, but I'm going to start doing so.
No,
so I'll be like,
changed things to Tumelo.
you know? What are I've interviewed her. She's spoken about her struggles with mental health.
Yeah.
Bonke's spoken about her really, really difficult moments. What are the conversations you have around mental health? And is there a little ongoing time ticking clock that you guys feel about one another when someone's going through a low period because of what happened with Dad? Or is it as in like, are you overly now checking up because you're like, I don't want to miss anything? Like, what changed in the home? What changed in your relationships because of what happened to Dad and then your own individual journeys?
I wouldn't necessarily say change in the relationship, but I think it made us understand the importance of the bond that we now have that everybody sees, because ultimately it's one of those things of all we have is each other. Our struggles were with our mom. There was no one there to pick my mom up or help her raise 3 kids by herself with all of the struggles that she had. There was no one there to literally do it. So it's understanding just that we are responsible for each other. Lord forbid, when mom goes, we are still going to be that unit that's going to be responsible for each other. And I think that it's offering a safe space, a divine protection, a unconditional love, because we've had to build that bond around each other with all of our difficulties and going through the ebbs of life together, in our difficulties together in that unit. So I wouldn't say change as such, but I think it's just instilled a sense of just that lovingness, that godliness that we have, and that protection that we have around each other, because we're definitely a little bit mafia on that aspect. You know? We're a little mafia, you know. I think for me, what then changed, if you really talk about change, is the idea of being very protective. And I think I also get it from my mom. My mom also became extremely protective and maybe overly protective. She's the type of mom that says, if I have to go to jail for my family, I will. And she doesn't mean it in a bad way. She just says, touch my kids and I'll kill you.
My type of mama.
Yeah.
My type of mama.
So I think we also have that sense to a certain degree. For me as a big sister, I think I also then adopted that. But it's more also like, I will protect you to the ends of the earth. There's no way anybody is going to do anything or touch you. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten that protection because I've had to be the protector.
Yes.
Which is the hard part.
And Kwena OC, you're the big sister,
100%.
you're a deputy parent.
100%. So I've gone through experiences where they've been the most toughest things I've ever had to go through, but they've equipped me well enough to try and protect them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I never ever want to go through the pain I've had to enjoy generally in my life.
So how hard was it for you to build a relationship with Pretty Ugly, him now being your brother-in-law, brother-in-love?
I love that man.
Like, but it didn't happen overnight where you suddenly just loved him.
It didn't happen overnight. I think because of I'm a protective sister, I always had a, hey, don't come near my sister's type of thing, you know, naturally. Like I had that,
hey, when I'm rapper.
No, it wasn't just him though. It was just boys generally. I mean, I went to a girls' school. So I didn't really have that relationship with boys. I just thought, icky, you know?
Yes.
It's already inside me. But even Bunka went to like a girls' school until, she went to a girls' school all her life. It's to me that escaped the girls' school thing.
I'm also a girls' school.
Yeah, but she also, it was in high school that she went to girls' school.
Yes.
So, but otherwise, we predominantly all went to girls' schools. But I was just like the one that was just like, hey, stay away from boys. So I was the one who was like pretty like much, they always say I was a monster.
Strict.
Yeah, I was very strict. But also it was that thing of, you know, when you're a deputy parent, you want to, and nobody tells you this, mind you, and somebody would say, but where do you get that audacity? Who told you to be a deputy parent? And nobody forced you to. It's like, it's not that. There's something just engineers in you naturally to be like that. Nobody has a conversation with you about that. It's just...
Your mom never sat you down and said, all right, these are my parenting responsibilities.
No.
Just something inside.
No, and it's not a conversation that you also have with your parent.
Yeah.
It just so happens that you decide to take responsibility and you don't even see it. It's just like it just happens. You're this kid and now you're the one that's just going into all of these things because they come in, they're from your brain. Your brain is just happening over time. There's a friend of mine that likes to say to me, Refilwe, you're an overthinker. Like you're already thinking 10 steps ahead with a lot of things. And I guess I've always just been that kid. And it was just, I was very protective of my sisters. I still am, you know, but the difference is that I'm just like, life is for living. Hey, can I just be myself and be to myself? You guys can do anything. It's okay. You've done well. Amen.
I love that for you. So I have to ask then, what does dating look like for you? And
no, but let me finish with Pretty before you get to the dating.
Okay, we're still with Pretty.
Okay, so I was a bit of a tough cookie on him, right?
Yes.
But I guess I really warmed up to him because there was something so beautiful. I really loved in him eventually, but it was like a warming, a slow cooker process.
Oxtail.
You know, like it was a, marinate situation. Because for me, I just thought, you're a pretty boy who's here to play with my sister. I don't want you there. But, and then she marinated me also little by little. And then I started, to ease up. And yeah, as much as I was strict, but I was also the wild child, mind you. A lot of them always say, but you were so strict. I'm like, no, I did everything and anything under the sun, but respectfully so. Mom, I didn't disrespect you in any way. But I was like, Dora the Explorer, you know. So with him, I just gravitated towards a sense of love towards him. And that guy is exemplary of what a man is. And I say it with the utmost respect as a big sister. I've seen that man through the ebbs of life, from becoming a boy to a man, but such a beautiful spirit.
And a father.
100%. A beautiful husband, an amazing brother, an amazing father. My homie, my dog, that's my friend. You know what I mean? And he's just, and I don't say this to buy face because I don't need to buy face with anybody, you know. I'm one person who's very, very honest. If I don't like something, I don't like it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
But his gentleness, his kindness, his godliness, I think, is just one of the most beautiful examples. And I think also because he reminds me so much of Dad. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that there's a huge part of him that's very much like our dad. And my mom says it. She's like, it feels like when my husband got taken away, he brought a male figure that would remind me of the kind of person my husband was.
So as we wind down.
Dating,
what does that look like for you?
Oh, girl.
What if it's difficult? If I had chance, man.
It's not about being difficult. I think men have put me through a lot.
And you know what you want.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not to say that I can't be... I don't know, in English, it doesn't say that I can't humble myself. Yes. I can absolutely do that. Because I understand... In my aspect, I'm not a feminist who's going to say, we don't need men. No, you need a man in a certain aspect because there's certain things that he will give to you that you need. Hence, that's why we live in unison with each other, right? But it's also one of those things of, I also understand my power as a woman. And I don't want to be placed in a position where it is that you want to minimize me or take anything away from me, because ultimately at the end of the day, we're both human beings, sans our genders, right? And I'm not difficult. I think it's that idea of, because I know what I want and how I want it, and I've made so many compromises in my life to even accommodate certain things, which I would not accommodate, in certain aspects. I've tried, but it seems like they're not coming to the table the right way.
When the time is right.
Absolutely.
Do you want to be a mom?
I'd love to be a mom.
I think you'd make a great mom.
I have a lot of maternalness in me. I would love to be a mom, but I'm also not the type of person who forces issues.
Yes.
I believe when the time is right, God will make it happen. And I also believe that, we sometimes, I'm like, it's very easy to have a kid, but people don't think about the implications of the attachment that you then have to this person that you've now had a child with.
And the implications.
Yeah, implications like, holistically, where are we at? Character-wise, where are we at? What am I inheriting from you and your lineage, right? That could have an impact on this child that we have. And when we speak about the holistic aspect of it, it's the idea of, as a parent, when you look at a man, you don't have to be, we'd love the idea of having a relationship with this person, but Lord forbid that things do not work out. What kind of father does that person make?
And I think
those conversations we usually don't have in our heads before, but those are the characteristics that you somehow kind of see, when you kind of meet a person. Everything is never going to be revealed from the onset, from the get-go, because also guys are very good at hiding things.
But I'm going to say, the reason I think motherhood is going to look so amazing on you is because it will happen at a stage where you really have matured into who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
You are so acutely aware of yourself. I'm confident you know all the things that you want to work on yourself.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up this amazing time we've had together, what would you like all the viewers to know about Refilwe that they don't know?
What kind of a question is that?
Everybody needs to leave being able to say, actually, you asked me questions, now I want them to know this.
That I am an extremely gifted soul who needs to be given an equal opportunity to express her gifts just as equally as any other person. I'm love, I'm kindness, I'm the embodiment of whatever God wants me to be. So give me that respect as Refilwe. And yeah, I've got many accomplishments, man. I've got many, many accomplishments that I can be proud of. Please, guys, do not minimize me to what you know in the history. Make it a point to actually do your research properly and see the levels that the girl is getting at, and let's work on that. But more than anything, give me an equal opportunity like each and every other person to explore in the same way you guys give people opportunities. And don't do it because I have albinism. Do it because I'm talented, I have the capability, the skill, and I've worked damn hard to be who I am today.
I hope you accept the flowers that we give you today. And I appreciate you so much. I've watched you grow.
I love you.
And I think there's just more to come, man.
There's more
to come.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Destiny has a way of, I think, playing out its cards, and just trusting your journey is very key. And so there's a lot to come that will probably still shake you. So you'll come back and ask me to talk some more.
We'll be watching and keeping an eye. Thank you so much for joining the Relebogile Mabotja Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and got to learn a little bit more about this amazing Refilwe Modiselle and just the strong foundation that she comes from and builds on. And I'm sure so many of you young black ladies and young gents can relate to the experiences that she was speaking about. Don't forget to comment down below. Put your questions, put your comments. Let us know who else you want to see on the show. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to hear of new episodes coming out. As always, we appreciate your support. Till next time.